January 13th, big trade. I mean, James Harden, that's what he wanted, right? So he out of here. So he's going to Brooklyn. What y'all feel about that? In returns, they basically just get Victor Oladipo. Is that great compensation for that for letting Harden go? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But hey, James Harden got what he want. What you feel about that, Perk?
I think in my opinion, both sides won. I mean, you got a disgruntled superstar in James Harden. Victor Oladipo is a right under him. When you look at guys like, James Harden, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Giannis, those guys who always finish in the MVP conversation, then you look at the next tier of players, and Victor Oladipo is right there. Just think about what he was doing right before he got injured. This was a guy that was putting up 26 a night, and he was looking healthy this year. So the Rockets had to trade him because after he made his statements last night, they sure couldn't bring him back in the locker room or around the team. So it kind of forced their hand. And I thought that Victor Oladipo, now they can experiment with him, meaning they don't have to be locked into him because he is auditioning to get a contract with the Rockets. He's on his last year of his deal. And if things are not working out, they could trade him again.
Right. True. But what you think?
Man, I got so many emotions for this, but I'm gonna keep it simple. I think it's a win-win. Obviously, it's a win-win. I mean, for both teams. I mean, for Brooklyn, if you can get a guy like James Harden, I mean, I'm not gonna take away from what he's been able to do. I'm still, even when Kyrie comes back, if they figure that out, I'm interested to see three guys that are ball dominant really work. We talk about a big three, but three guys in the prime of their career to act, you actually ask guys to, actually sacrifice. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to do it. But on paper, they look good. I mean, when you add, arguably three of the top 20 guys in the league on the same team, I mean, you got to have nothing but championship aspirations. I think also too with them, they got to make this a multi-year thing. If it doesn't work this year, if you somehow get beat, you can't just break the team up and say it didn't work. Because if you think about when the Miami Heat joined, the first year they lost in the finals. So you got to take time to put the pieces around them. I don't know with this COVID and all this stuff going on, they're going to be able to, put the right team to be a championship team. So that remains to be seen. But Brooklyn did win. They got, you to add a guy like that in the prime of his career is unbelievable. Just to kind of piggyback what Perk talked about with Houston, I think it's great. I think it's great for Victor Oladipo. I think Indiana was starting to move away from him. If you started to watch Indiana games, they were starting to go with their other core. TJ Warren, those guys made a good run. So they were starting to go in a different direction. And now you go back to more of a traditional lineup. If you look at Houston's lineup right now, you got John Wall, a real point guard, Victor Oladipo, a legit two, PJ Tucker, Christian Woods, Eric Gordon. You got more of a traditional lineup. And I'm happy for Silas. You got to see how we sometimes we forget about the coaches in this situation. First time this black coach has got an opportunity to coach a team, 19 years of being an assistant, and now he gets a clean locker room. He gets to put his stamp on it. With so many things he could not do. Just waiting on James and trying to do everything to fit him. Now he gets a chance to put his stamp on the team. So I think both teams made the right move. Houston did a good thing. They wasn't going nowhere with James Harden. They shot their wild with him. They gave him 7 years, gave him multiple players to give him a chance to see if he could bring a championship. He wasn't capable of doing it. So we'll see how it goes, but it's a good trade for both teams.
Etan, how you feel about it?
I mean, it's interesting. So I just played my son in 2K, and he was Brooklyn, and they gave me the business. I mean, so if they played like the game that I just saw, I mean, it was like because he spread them out. KD was at the 4. What's my man, the shooter, the little white boy?
Joe Harris.
He just stuck Joe Harris in the corner. I mean, if they play like that, I think they could really be dangerous. But it's going to be interesting to see, how they share the ball. One of the things that I noticed from watching Brooklyn is in the fourth quarter, I saw, KD didn't get a whole lot of shots a couple of them games. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't getting the ball as much. And, I saw Kyrie taking the majority of the shots. And, when you add James Harden to that mix, you have to see how they're going to work together, how they're going to share the ball. But if they get it, if they work all that out, they could be dangerous. They could be really dangerous. But We got to see what's going on with Kyrie. We got to see what's, you know, a lot of you know, question marks going forward, but we'll see.
But you know
Right.
what?
Go ahead.
I want
Go
to
ahead.
add one point to that. I want to add one point to that. One mistake that James made that I don't think no player in the NBA should make. He passed up. I thought that he should have took that 2-year, $103 million extension, because that wouldn't have affected anything. Like, you can't pass up that type of money on the back end, right? You still would have got traded. You still would have been able to get traded, but you don't pass up an extension for 2-year, $103 million. I'm sorry, I just had to add that.
I agree.
That's real.
I mean, it's but they playing with different money than we was playing with. We talked about that last time. You know what I mean? So their cap is just different. Like the way they look at it. I mean, who's we talking about last time who passed up a big payday? And we were saying, like, you know, we wouldn't do that in our day.
It was a young boy. It was a young fella.
Yeah, it was a young cat. Who's we talking about? But they just
John Collins from Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah,
there we go. That's who it was.
It wasn't even an all-star, nothing. Like,
Right, John Collins.
You wanted Bam, but like, come on, man. Ain't nothing to me, you know, and y'all know from playing, hell, I mean, 4 year 90, you might as well say that's 100. It's nothing that you can't do.
Right.
That you can do with.
Nah, you're right. You're right. Nah, you're 100% right. But like I said, the salaries are higher, and you know the amount of money that the league is making is more. So everything is kind of inflated. Just like we would see guys from, you know, a few decades before us, they'd be saying the same thing about us. Like, man, look at all the money y'all making. You know what I mean? So I think it just keeps going up and up. And that's the beauty of the sport, though, man. I gotta be honest with you, man. I love seeing these young brothers make money. But I'd be nervous when they turn it down because it's such a gamble. That's what I'd be nervous for them.
Right. And I for every single one of y'all, I got a question since we're talking about the money. With the way that Kyrie has been acting, with the way that James Harden has been acting, right? This is pissing the owners off. You hear GMs talking, you hear owners talking right now about, are these organizations going to hold them accountable? Here's my thing. You had guys like Larry Bird, Magic, Jordan. All these guys were getting a max of $3 million a year before Jordan, you know, towards the tail end of his career. Those guys weren't getting paid much, right? So those guys paved the way for guys like ourselves to get a nice bag while we was playing. And then we withheld that and did things the right way and paved the way for guys like today to get the right bag. So my question to y'all is that the way that these guys are conducting themselves, are they going to affect the bag that they're getting for the next generation of kids?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I'll say it like this, though. You know, Magic and them ran their teams. Isaiah and them ran their teams. You know what I mean? Like, you hear stories about how they acted and stuff. They just didn't have no social media. Right. That was the only difference. But they had a lot of stuff going with them, too. I mean, I think that what it boils down to is, and we've been talking this since for forever. Every time we go to negotiation meeting back when I was in the union, the GMs and all of them, they some punks. That's what it is. They can't tell a person that you have these rules that you got to abide by. So the whole time we in negotiations, they want us to make the rules for them. That's all. We're like, well, if y'all don't want to pay that somebody, just don't pay them. They're like, yeah, but we don't want to do that. I'm like, y'all can't tell somebody that you don't want to pay them this much, you want to pay them this much. You want to be able to say, you know what? We'd love to pay you, but the rules say that we can only pay this much. They some punks.
Well, I think if you really look at it, it gets even deeper than that, Perk. I think you got to go back to David Stern and what he said. He made the league global. So by him making the league global, I mean, the money's got astronomical, and all those guys helped pave the way. But if you really think about it, the money part is probably going to stay the same, because I really thought once COVID hit and them going into negotiation, I thought the owners was going to really stand their ground. And they really didn't. They just signed the same deal again. So that means the money's good. That means that both sides are eating really, really good. So the league is only, once this pandemic is over, we're going to get back to normal. Sponsorship's going to pick back up. So I think that's going to stay the same. I just think Every team is different. Perk, you know this. I play for the Miami Heat. Pose know this. There were league rules and there were Heat rules. And that's how, and every team don't run their team like that.
Right.
And that's where it comes down to. If Brooklyn, this is Sean Marks' first time. And you would think from Popovich, he would have learned. But you got to have your team rules too. Like, I love Kyrie. I'm not with players getting fined. But I'll be finding the shit out of them. That's not fair to the guys in the locker room. Y'all know how this go, man. Everybody's on the same page. For what he's doing right now, I'll be finding the shit out of him, and he'll know it'll be public. You don't let guys get away with that type of thing when you run the organization and stuff like that. So they can make the money. Just put the rules in play. Everybody follows the same rules, and we good. I like the fact that money's like that. But guys got to say that. And then back to what you said, James Harden, I don't know what it is. I think these agents, guys need to evaluate their agents. Because I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the. I don't even know where we come from now, where the game is not a business first.
Right.
The game is a business first. And we, all four of us, have been on the back end looking for a job and couldn't get in. And we remember when we fucking was in the prime of our career, we could do anything the fuck we want. So when they got the gun, they do not let up on you. They gonna shoot the shit out you and not pay you. You saw it happen to a lot of great players. Allen Iverson couldn't play no more. Guys that wanted to finish their career. Look at Carmelo Anthony. He had to damn near wait a whole fucking year and a half to get back into the league, man.
Right.
So you got to think about these things. These players don't think about that. So turning down money is still a business first. I don't know what kind of agents is going on right now that they tell these guys they can turn this kind of money down. It's crazy. I don't know what it is, but I mean, maybe they just got enough money now. Shit, maybe they don't need it.
So, like, when I look at it too, when you talk about the money and you brought it up about Bird, Magic, and Jordan having the money. When you say that, I compare that also to the maturity. Like, you think it was grown men back in the day, so it was different. They were mature and it was about business, feeding their family and things like that. Now you have younger talent, younger kids now with all this money, and so shit, they really don't know how to act. It's their first bag, and so now they think with the bag comes more power, so they don't know how to handle it for the most part, and so now they feel like they could do whatever they want. And the back what Etan said, like some of the owners in situations, they like, shit, why give that kid that money? Really, I want you to get the money, but if it's certain rules that come with it. So I think with the bag comes a certain rule, like you said, like Antoine said, down in Miami, it was the league rules and it was the Heat rules at the end of the day. So I think that should go on more so. And when you talk about these players and James Harden, and we brought up Kyrie, the effect that they have on their teammates, you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like I seen the interview with Cousins, talk about the disrespect started, with James Harden in training camp and stuff like that. So what y'all think about that? That's as if that's your teammate, how you feeling? Like, he's not even in it trying to win nothing. He's selfish at the end of the day. And it's just a bad look for your teammates that you know what I'm saying? Like, to say that about them and just say, one, they can't win, and also to do what you want to do as you, because you the man. Like, I just feel a certain type way about that.
It's only a couple guys that's in that category, and I like Harden. I think Harden's a great scorer, one of the top scorers to ever play the game. But guys don't look at him like LeBron James. Guys don't look at him like KD. You know what I mean? Guys respect him because of the body of work he's done. But he hasn't won the championship. He hasn't been in the Western Conference Finals. He hasn't been in the finals grinding right there at the moment. He hasn't been a good playoff player. So you think of Cousins, a guy who's already bitter because he's had some unfortunate bad luck. You think John Wall, who's bitter, who still got a bag, who's made close to $300 million playing. You think he's studying James Harden if he don't want to play with him? You got to think about those guys. And then what about the guys that's been in there sweating and tears with you, the P.J. Tuckers of the world, the Eric Gordons, those guys that's been there with you every step of the way trying to win? How you think they feel that you don't want to come back and play with them?
So do they say something? Like, at what point did the teammates say something about it? You know what I'm saying?
Man, it happened last night. That's why they knew they had to make the move. We wasn't there, but you saw Cousins come out. I guarantee you that thing went down in the locker room last night.
But no, it didn't go down in the locker room because James did it after he left out of the locker room and went home.
Okay.
So that went back to my previous point that this is why if they wouldn't have made the trade, he couldn't come back into the practice facility and then like they said, stay home because if you walk into the locker room, a real motherfucker go tell you something. Hey, man, say, man, all that slick talking and trying to talk down us, we ain't hearing that. Next thing you know, we hearing about some motherfuckers getting them paws put on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I think Cousin would pull it too.
Yeah, I just keep going back to how, I don't think this generation is any different than the one before that. I really don't. Like, when you can get away with it, you get away with it. I played with guys and they got away with murder. You know what I mean? There's different rules for them. Like, we all knew it. They would do what they wanted to do. And it was all good as long as we were winning. Now, once we start losing, then it's different. But when you win it, man, they put up with anything. And that's on them. They can't get mad at Harden. I said this at the beginning when they was talking about Harden was being late for practice and Harden was doing this and Harden was doing that. I'm like, y'all mad at the wrong people. What about the GM, the people in charge? That's their fault. You know what I mean? If you got we got kids, if you let your kid do whatever they want to do and have no rules and they act a fool, whose fault is that? That's your fault for letting them do whatever they want to do. I mean, that's how I look at it. These GMs and they got to be held accountable, man. They some punks, man. That's what it is.
I mean, like just last year, and a lot of people really don't know this, but this is why Russ wanted to bounce. The Rockets didn't want to trade Russ. He requested a trade because of all the things that was transpiring last year. They would say they would play on a Saturday and they wouldn't play again. You had those couple of layoffs where you won't play again till Thursday. Yeah. And James was on a private heading to Cabo, on Tillman Fertitta private at that. And Russ like, hold on, man, I ain't come here for all this shit. We used to come, like Russ come from Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is a notch under the Miami Heat, if not on the same level for as culture, getting your work in, no shortcuts. So Russ is sitting up here saying, hold on, James, what you doing? Like, I ain't with all this party. I came to the H because we supposed to be on the title chase.
You're right.
Wow. Yeah. But that's it. Yeah, you got to hold everybody accountable, man. That's start from up top.
Yeah, man. Like I said, that's the way they started off. Like I said, the Rockets trade James Harden.